Welcome to Just Massage Therapist podcast, where we are just massage therapists, and these are just our opinions. Corey's running a little late, so we're gonna wait on her for a couple of seconds, which is fine because for the most part, we, don't get everything fully set up for the first couple of minutes anyway. Should be here any moment, and should be good. So, as always, if you are here in the mornings with us, joining us via YouTube or Twitch, we can see you in the comments themselves in the chat. So we're able to, see when you're here and hanging out with us. If you're joining on Instagram, I will go back and forth. We have figured it out so it actually works every time now. But we'll go back and forth so that we can see your comments if you've decided to join us on the actual live part. If not, then we'll hopefully get some chat and stuff from you in the comments next when you watch this, because it'll be up on our podcast. We are starting to put it up on what is it called? Spotify? Wow, sorry, could not remember the word Spotify. So we'll be throwing it up on Spotify right away here too. I think the full first season is up there. Second season should be up there soon. This season is going to run until the summertime when we take our break, and then we'll get the next season started in the winter or the fall. So we're basically running from fall to summer with a little mini break in December. As we are waiting on Cora to make her way, I'm actually going to give her a quick call. But as we're waiting on Cora to make her way, just a couple of little minor announcements. We have put up our dates for our in-person courses. They are on the website now. So if you want, I'll put it in the captions here, you can head over to, there we go. You can head over to cnclh.com to sign up. I'm actually going to show you guys where you can see it. It's pretty easy place to see it. Whoop. Share. Here we go. We're gonna make this guy big so you can see. All right, so if you go to our homepage here, scroll through our membership opportunities. We've got our upcoming events. So for 2026, we've got stuff starting in April. We've got our Cupping 1 course. We have 2 dates for that, the Saturday and the Sunday. And then if you keep going, we've got in May the 2-day adhesive capsulitis specialist treatment specialist course that's going to be up and running. And then we're taking a little breather in June. And then July, we're doing Cupping 2 on the 13th of July. It's a Monday. If that doesn't work, if you guys are like, oh, we can't do Mondays, Sunday or Saturday would be better, just let us know. It's far enough out where we can change it. Taking a breather for August. Then September, we're doing another adhesive capsulitis treatment specialist in case you guys can't make the first one. And then in November is where we'll have our myofascial pain syndrome treatment specialist course. So a lot of trigger point stuff in that one. And yeah, we'll be good. It's very exciting. Right now, these are the ones we've put up so far. Please keep we don't do anything in December. December is one of our off months along with August. But we will be posting very soon for March. We're going to be posting the online live programs that we are wanting to do. All right. So we're going to remove this guy off of here. There we go. And I'm back with you. All right, just trying to, for some reason, right there. There we go. We're going to take this guy, the source, right off. What we are planning on talking about today is muscle tears for gains. Usually I would ask Cora, but it seems that she's taking a little longer than I expected to get in here. So muscle tears for gains, the truth behind the lie. So I don't know. And again, I got to remind you guys, these are just our opinions. And this one is an opinion that is extremely set inside of myself, extremely set inside of Cora as well, that the rhetoric behind muscle tears for gains is both untrue and very harmful. I have to go through and explain why we believe this. But before I do, if you don't already know the rhetoric behind this, in the muscle building world, in the sports world, in that world, there is a rhetoric going around that says you have to work out hard enough that you do micro tears inside of your muscle, and those micro tears will create bigger muscle tissue. Technically, what they say is it'll build scar tissue that is stronger, and then your muscles will be stronger because of it. So it's kind of like, you know how the best lies are the ones that have a little bit of truth inside of them, so you don't know whether to believe the lie or to believe it because there is truth. There is some truth that goes behind this. That being, the gains part is the lie, but the tearing and the scar tissue is the truth. If that's where we're gonna start. So whenever we harm ourselves, right, any part of our body, if we go through a pathological process, like we get a cold, we get an infection, we get a disease of some sort, or we harm ourselves with a traumatic event, like we sprain our ankle, we cut ourselves, any sort of damage, and even the hint of damage, right? If you've done something that could possibly be damaging, or even damages a couple tiny little cells, or say cells start to die, we have a process that our body goes through. It's called inflammation. It is the body's non-specific response to literally everything that happens inside of our body. Literally everything. And what happens with inflammation? The first thing, we've got these wonderful little mast cells. And these mast cells in our body, and they're just everywhere. They're along the surface of every skin type. So in their outer shell, our outer skin shell, they're right underneath the surface. In our innards, all over the place, they are right underneath the surface of all of our endothelial cells. They're just all over the place. They release something called histamine. Right? They get irritated fairly easily. Okay, they're supposed to be. They're highly sensitive cells. They release a little chemical called histamine, and histamine is what starts the process of inflammation. It goes out, it pulls the alarm, and it does a few different things, including bringing or helping, I should say, to bring prostaglandins, bradykinins, a couple of other things that open up our blood vessels and make our capillaries more permeable so that bigger substances can get through. White blood cells can get through the blood vessels at the capillary level, at the smallest level. The first white blood cell that usually shows up in this time is neutrophils. Neutrophils are a fantastic little blood vessel that comes in. It starts to eat away any debris. If there's anything bad that has shown up, like if you cut yourself and some bacteria that lives on your skin normally gets in, the neutrophils are going to start the process of eating away at that. So it's going to eat away any of the dead cells that have been, well, killed. in the damage. That's their whole thing. While they're doing that, they're sending out signals, chemical signals, to wake up what we call monocytes. Monocytes are the dormant version of our big eater cells called macrophages. So the monocytes, they get triggered to transform, to differentiate into their active form, but that takes a little while. Now, some of the wandering macrophages, the ones that are always active in our body, are going to show up there inside of this time, but it takes about 2 full days for the wandering, or for the monocytes to fully differentiate into macrophages, the active form that can then move and take over. So for 2 days, these neutrophils are sending out these crazy signals. And along with the chemicals that they send out are a couple of chemicals that irritate our pain nerves. This is why you feel that really sharp, like that sharp, then the throbbing pains that come. The sharp pain comes from the initial impact on the really fast pain fibers, the ones that go up to your brain in milliseconds. And then the throbbing generally comes from the chemical part of it. And that goes on our smaller C fibers, C pain fibers, that go up a little slowly. So they reach the brain in seconds instead of milliseconds. And then neutrophils are there, and they're sending out these chemical signals that irritate our pain fibers even more. Now, it does this on purpose. Okay, it does this to make sure that we don't forget, the body doesn't forget that there's damage over here that needs to be dealt with. And until those neutrophils and any cellular debris that also irritates the nerve cells, until those are told to leave because it's being handled, they're going to stick around. The thing that tells them to leave is macrophages showing up. Okay? And they leave slowly after the second day. They don't just all of a sudden go. They leave slowly as they're no longer needed. So these are the first stages of inflammation. We're talking the first few days. Inside of this time, you're also having chemical signals to bring from the connective tissue side, which is always, there's connective tissue that is always stuck to our epithelial skin tissue and our endothelial inside tissue, inside skin tissue that covers our organs, the inside of our organs. But there's connective tissue that surrounds our muscles, our bones themselves are connective tissue. Okay. But the connective tissue that we're looking for here is either the loose or the dense connective tissues. And inside of these wonderful connective tissues are what we call the matrix. And that matrix, it can have collagen fibers. If you haven't heard about collagen at this point in life, you should probably look into what collagen is. Collagen fibers, they're long strings of protein that have a particular function. They're very strong and they hold things together. They create the form of the connective tissue. Reticular fibers, which are just a lesser version of collagen. They're a weaker version, not as strong, but they are really good in a pinch. And then there's the elastin fibers. The elastin fibers are the ones that allow for our connective tissue to be springy, right? You can stretch it and it can come back. You can stretch it and it can come back. They're basically coils, right? Coils of connective tissue, of I should say, protein, coils of amino acids connected together, coiled protein that can stretch and then bounce back, and then stretch and then bounce back. They are absolutely phenomenal. She's on her way. So with the with the connective tissue, where I was going with that is when you have damage that goes further than skin deep, right, or with our organs further than the endothelial level deep, you're gonna hit connective tissue. While the neutrophils and macrophages are there trying to make sure that the area gets cleared of all the debris, and any bad things that could be showing up in there, right? Bacteria, virus, fungus, anything like that. We're also calling in the cells that live inside of connective tissue. Now, depending on the connective tissue, there's a bunch of different kinds of cells, right? Bone has osteo cells, bone cells. Cartilage has hyaluronic acid, but it has cells that create, they're called chondrocytes. But every single type of connective tissue, doesn't matter which one you're talking about, except for maybe the fluid ones, have fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are the cells that make collagen, elastin, and reticular fibrils. All the different kinds of collagen, 1, 2, 3, and above, right? Reticular technically being collagen 3, and the elastin fibers. When they are called in for damage, they come in droves. It takes time. It does take time. It takes, again, probably around that 2-day mark. Although inside of the first 2 days, there are the ones that are already there, and they're going to throw down reticular fibers, collagen 2 or collagen 3, the crappy collagen, as I like to call it, the crappy collagen. So yeah, the crappy collagen gets laid down, and it starts to sort of fix the area. It puts down just haphazardly this mesh, and it's not pretty, it's not organized. It's just like, we need to close this gap. We need to close this gap. We need to close this gap. So we're closing this gap. And there you go. You've got the beginnings of what we would call scar tissue. Cora just joined us. We're going to pause there and bring in the Cora.
Hi.
Somebody lost track of time.
And I'm frozen.
You are frozen. Why are you frozen?
But can you hear me though?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what counts, I guess.
Hold on. Let's see if I can.
Nope.
Still frozen. You may have to leave and come back again.
Okay, I will leave and I'll come back.
I don't know. It looks like she's still frozen. You're still frozen.
I'll just turn off my camera and then I'll just be a voice.
Actually, turn it off and then turn it back on again, because it might have just been your camera.
Nope. Still that guilty smile.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That's okay. We'll just do this way. That's okay.
That is hilarious.
This is the troubleshooting that happens when at the very beginning, usually.
Yeah, we usually get this done in the 5 minutes or so before we start. So what happened, Cora?
I was making pancakes.
I called and everything.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, no,
you need to set an alarm. You need to set an alarm on your phone.
Yeah. Yep. That happened. And then I was trying to fix Jacob's glasses. And then it just, yeah. That happened. I apologize.
Anyway, so I was explaining to the camera. I was explaining to everybody what scar tissue is and the understanding of scar tissue before we're talking about tearing for gains.
Okay.
Right? And I just got to the part where in the inflammatory process, where the very first laying down of what we would call scar tissue is the reticular fibers, the crappy collagen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's creating a meshwork of this crappy collagen, and that's the beginning of the framework for the scar tissue. So basically what it's trying to do is get the wound edges close together, or get the area that's been damaged either by trauma or a pathological process. It's trying to heal that area, close that area off, basically like police tape. Right? It's just, imagine the police tape is creating a mesh over the whole place instead of just a line. Right? So it's trying to close it off, and then within the next couple of days, they're able to, with all of the other fibroblasts that show up, they're able to create the better kind of collagen. Right? Collagen 1, which is the strongest type of collagen. Now, if we're lucky, the wound isn't too bad, and that collagen is creating a really good, like the good collagen is creating a really good framework, and the enzymes that are being released are tearing apart the old crappy collagen in equal measure. So as they lay down the correct scaffolding and the correct meshwork, they're also eating away the old stuff, the reticular stuff, the crappy collagen, and making that area really strong. Okay, so if we're extremely lucky, they don't pack them so close together that they stick and contracture and like pull and pucker everything. So if we're really lucky, that scar tissue leaves enough space for the ground substance, which is the other part of the matrix, the gelatinous stuff, the water substance that's kind of like thick water, really, really thick water that allows for them to move and not get super stuck to each other. Because collagen is kind of sticky. It likes to actually bond to itself if there isn't anything separating it in between, like ground substance, the water stuff. So that is how scar tissue is made. Now, when it comes to the tears for gains, this does happen. So the half of the story that is told, still not, the half of the story that is told is yes, true. If you work your muscles hard enough, the connective tissue that surrounds your muscles will tear. And within a couple of days, you will have scar tissue and those micro tears. That's true. But what is not true is that's going to make your muscles stronger. It's not making your muscles stronger. It's not affecting your muscles. If you go hard enough that you actually tear your muscle fibers, that muscle fiber will die. Because muscle does not regenerate itself. It will die. You will no longer have the strength of whatever that muscle fiber gave you, right? There might be 1,000 muscle fibers in that particular muscle, and now you have one less muscle fiber that's working. So you're actually losing strength and being replaced with scar tissue that does not contract. You don't want that.
I'm going to add to that actually with the scar tissue. I don't know if you were here. If you were here for a fascia talk, we kind of touched on this a little bit too, how with that scar tissue, and we kind of talked about like that scar tissue, how we have those excessive cross links also build up. And so that actually creates a weak spot in the muscle. With that weak spot, because we have no room for weakness in the human body. So that particular muscle or that particular action now has to recruit other muscles that also perform that same action, creating imbalances.
Yeah. So as you, coming back to the creation of that scar tissue, as you tear the connective tissue, right? Just the connective tissue. We'll come back to the muscle in a second, but the connective tissue, if you do micro tears in that, which that should be hopefully all you ever do when you're doing this. Hopefully you don't actually do that either, but the connective tissue will be the first thing that tears. And if you go hard enough and the muscle tears, then we'll get into that stuff. That stuff's awful. But the connective tissue that tears, the fibroblasts are going to show up. They're going to create scar tissue in that region, but that does not make the connective tissue stronger.
No.
Strength doesn't come from more fibers. Strength comes from the correct amount of fibers with the ground substance floating in between, giving it what we call tensile strength. Now, tensile strength means that you have the right amount of collagen, which provides the structure, and elastin, which allows for the stretch and the recoil. Stretch and recoil. Tensile strength allows for all of it. Scar tissue has no elastin fibers in it, and way too many cross links, way too much of the collagen sticking to itself because it doesn't have enough ground substance in there. So that does actually become, even in the connective tissue, a weak spot. Not a stronger spot. It doesn't create more strength. So yes, when you tear your muscles when you're working out, you are creating scar tissue. That is actually true, right? Even if it's micro tears and micro scar tissue. but you are not getting stronger. You are actually causing weakness. If you see physical gain, what you're seeing is the result of inflammation, which means water, lots and lots of water. And all you're actually doing is, in the long run, creating tiny little weak spots all over your muscles, all over the connective tissue that holds your muscles together and is there for support and structure for that muscle, and allowing for that muscle to stretch and to recoil back when it stretches. You're losing range of motion and extensibility because you don't have these wonderful collagen fibers that don't stick all together. Instead, you have a bunch of little areas where the collagen fibers hold. They don't come apart and go back. They don't come apart. They just hold. And now you can't stretch as far as you used to be able to. If it gets into the actual muscle, that's where I'm going to give it over to Cora. And Cora is going to talk on what happens when muscle itself, muscle tissue, gets scar tissue inside of it. Take it away, Cora.
Okay. So with that scar tissue, as Chelsea mentioned, like the fibers, the reticular fibers are kind of just getting laid down. So that act of laying down is very haphazard. Like, it really doesn't care. Scar tissue does not care. As mentioned, what the body needs is stability. So that scar tissue is going to branch out to muscle, nerve, bone, blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, skin, more scar tissue. And that's what that's going to do, is that's actually going to affect the way your muscle actually contracts. Now, if my camera was moving, I'm just going to just double check it one more time. Okay, I don't have it, but I usually have like a visual hand movement thing going on with this one. But so individually, the muscle fibers in themselves are moving individually together as a unit along the same plane, parallel to each other. Okay, so with a tug of war, if we think of it that way, everybody on your team has to pull at the same time in order for it to happen properly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we have that scar tissue, there's a delay. So me and maybe on the outsides, the outside ropes will all pull together, but the inside ropes maybe have like a couple second delay. So by the time they actually catch up to what's happening, it's almost a little bit too late. Mm-hmm. Another thing that could happen is everybody's going to kind of have their own agenda. And even though the muscles come together to a common attachment site, they still have that same leverage. But maybe like with deltoid, for example, maybe if we had an injury right across, right, maybe at the attachment site, the insertion at the deltoid velocity, that could in theory affect all three fibers. So now, instead of having all the deltoids activating together to create that abduction, maybe the middle fibers will be activating for abduction, but the anterior, middle, and posterior fibers are going to try their flexion and extension.
Yeah, exactly.
That is going to affect the functionality of the muscle, which will affect the strength because it's not firing the way it's supposed to.
Yep. So
that's a really important thing to kind of remember when you're trying to build muscle. And the effects of scar tissue and what scar tissue actually does.
It's pretty intense. I don't know when this rhetoric started, the tearing for gains. You know what? I should have looked that up before we started. But I've heard it a lot the past, like, I'd say 5 years. I've heard it more than I've heard it ever before. These last 5 years, I don't understand why it's happened. Do you know, Cora, where this started? And if anybody else does while you're watching this, I need to hear it. I need to know where this actually started and why this is a thing.
I am looking it up right now, Chelsea. I will have an answer.
I love that. Because, yeah, it baffles my mind that this has become a regular thing that people believe. Again, These are our opinions based on what we are aware of in the body and what happens inside the body.
Okay, so it actually happened in the 80s when bodybuilding became a thing, like when it became its own. Yeah.
So it's been going for a long time.
The theory was with the micro tears that the muscles would get bigger and bulkier, which I guess
no, not really, because scar tissue puckers.
right, but then you could, but if they saw the individual muscle ripples, maybe in their brain they're thinking, oh, it's getting, instead of getting thicker, which we know it is getting thicker, it's getting fibrous. But maybe they're like, oh, look at my muscle. Because bodybuilding is short bursts of strength. It's not endurance.
Yeah, so it would be short bursts of strength for sure.
That makes the difference too, I think, in that mentality.
Yep. Oh my gosh. So yeah, in our opinion, in our estimation, tearing for gains is a lie. It's based in truth. There is truth to it. There is, but the gain part, all you're gaining is weakness in that connective tissue, and I hope you don't go hard enough that it goes into your muscles themselves. If you really, really want to have gains in muscle, you just have to work it to the point where it does more than it normally does. You don't have to tear it. You don't have to cause pain. You have to cause it to be tired.
Yeah.
You have to cause it to need more oxygen and more storage for oxygen, which is going to create bulk, because the more storage, it's a physical storage, it will increase the size of the muscle, literally, because it is physical storage. It'll increase the size of the muscle just by creating storage for oxygen. If you want to increase your strength, not your size, your strength. Oh, sorry, with size, if you want to increase the bulk and the size, doing anything that is endurance training is going to increase the amount of water that each of the muscle fibers needs to have inside of it, because the storage needs to be there. So the larger the space, the more water needs to also be inside of your muscles. If you want to increase in strength, you want to increase the amount of proteins that are used inside of each muscle fiber to create contraction. We call them the thin and thick filaments. And yeah, the body will create more thin and thick filaments, stronger, thicker, thin and thick filaments, to create a more intensive contraction. It is part of the thing, but all you have to do is do more than what you would do normally. So whatever your norm is right now, do more without tearing and causing pain. It's a slow process. The tearing of the muscle, I think it's just one of those, if you do this, you'll see effects faster, which you will see effects faster, for sure, but they're not going to be good effects.
Yeah. No, the main thing is like you use it and challenge yourself. But another really key point is it's less is more. Like it's better to do less with proper form and very controlled movements, making sure you're actually coming into pure flexion, pure abduction, making sure you're actually doing those movements purely and targeting the individual muscles for their specific actions than it is to do 30 bicep curls inappropriately.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, is when you are working the muscle, you want to challenge them for what they are.
Yeah. Can I also add that you can target specific muscles, but please don't think you're only working that muscle.
That's true. Yeah.
That's another one. I know most of you who are watching this are like, yeah, duh, no doubt, Chelsea, come on. Right? But there are, for people who don't know, when you are working out, if you go to a machine and it says it's working out this muscle, it is, but it's also going to be working out the muscles that are helping it and the muscles that oppose it. Like it's doing everything. It's not just focusing on one muscle. It's always a group of muscles working together. No muscle ever works alone.
Truth.
And you need your core to be engaged the whole time so you don't hurt your back.
Yes.
Please engage your core the whole time.
Yep.
Every time you do something with any part of your body, engage your abdominals, engage your glutes, engage your lower back, engage your diaphragm by breathing properly. Engage it all so that you create a stable tube in your core so that you don't hurt your lower back. Your thoracic region's usually okay because ribs are amazing. Right? But if you're not engaging your core, you have a high probability of really harming your lower back and your pelvis.
Yep. I've actually have a lot of not a lot of clients, but I know a lot of people who have actually developed like herniated discs because their core was not activated during strength training.
Yep. I love it when I see people who are doing deadlifts that actually wear the brace because that brace is so important. Oh my God. If you don't have the core strength for the weight that you're lifting, the brace is going to save your lower back.
But before you lift that weight, you should make sure that your body can handle it too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ideally, you shouldn't rely on that brace. That brace should be a just in case.
Yeah, the brace is supposed to be a helper, not a do-aller.
Right.
Oh, I love that. So, yeah, it actually kind of worked out that you didn't come in right away because it gave me the time to explain the inflammatory process a little bit to the point of, and then these guys come in.
Yeah.
That worked. That worked out. I'm going to call you when I wake up at 8 o'clock and be like, 30 minutes.
Well, I usually, this is the first time it's happened. On Saturday.
Yeah, this long, this is the first time it's happened for sure.
Yeah.
The last time this happened, I think we had 2 minutes before we started recording.
But I wasn't late.
No, that is true. You weren't late. All right. So there it is. Terrors for gains, the lie they tell you. So it's built-in truth. But at this point, we know better. Right? And this myth it needs to end. It honestly, in my opinion, it needs to end because it's only damaging people. Thankfully, or hopefully, not thankfully, hopefully it's only the level of the connective tissue that surrounds the muscle, and it's not going into muscle tissue for most people. That's my hope. Because I'd rather it in the connective tissue than in the muscle itself. But even in the connective tissue, it's awful. That's just a recipe for consistent inflammation in your muscles. And that's pain. That's just so painful.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We don't want that. No. All right. Do you have anything you want to add, Cora?
No, I think that it was pretty much, I put my 2 cents in already.
Yeah. This one we're kind of, yeah, I don't know, pretty, I don't know what the word is. What is the word when you're really like, about something?
I don't know, but as Peter Griffin would say, it grinds my gears.
It grinds my gears. That is true. That's actually perfect. That is the perfect way of explaining it. It does. It grinds my gears. It irritates me so much. I'm very passionate. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Very passionate about making sure people know not to harm themselves. when they're trying to better themselves. I think for a lot of people, this is what creates some of the delayed onset muscle soreness is actual tearing. It's not true DOMS. It's you cause inflammation that is going to take you 2 or 3 days to stop feeling a lot of the pain of.
Well, and that's just it. Like DOMS is like the next like 24 hours, right? You drink your water, you have your shower, sauna, whatever it is, increasing circulation. Stretching is also very important to prevent that. But if it extends beyond that 24 hours,
Yeah,
then
you've got into inflammation territory. And that's not good.
Right. Because again, the body is built for hunting and gathering. So there's no room for weakness. Any tears, any break in the connective tissues is a weak spot, and the body goes into panic mode.
Yep. Oh, just crazy. If you want to know more about this kind of stuff, get hold of us because we will talk your ears off, honestly. We will talk about this stuff for forever. Oh my gosh. Next week, we are talking fear and holding patterns. So this is going to be mostly Cora talking. So, Cora.
I won't be late.
That's funny. So, yeah, we're going to talk about how emotions can influence our muscles and our joint positions.
It's one of my favorite
Specifically,
topics.
we're going to talk fear, and then over the few months, we'll talk about other ones. But this one, we're going to talk fear. I'd love to do one on anger. Anger would be a great one. Eventually.
Well, yeah. Oh, for sure. And all of it's a roll. Like, and all of those topics are going to get me on fascial tangents. Every single one. But yeah. So next week, be prepared for
I'm so excited. I like your fascial tangents. They make me happy. All right. Well, with that being said, we have been Just Massage Therapists. These have been our opinions. These ones specifically based in a lot of fact. A lot of fact. So, still just our opinions, but remember, so much fact. And we will see you in our next podcast. Bye.
See you. Thanks for coming.